Welcome back, everyone. In April, the U.S. economy saw some positive development. You had payrolls rising in the month of April by 288,000, far more than economists had anticipated. Additionally, the unemployment rate hit 6.3%, the lowest rate since the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Joining me right now from Nashville to discuss the latest jobs report, Republican Representative Marsha Blackburn, who serves as Vice Chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Representative Blackburn, great to have you here. Good to see you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Let's talk about this number here. I mean, the unemployment rate now is at the lowest level it's been at in almost 6 years, 6.3%. Does that really in any way signal that we are, in fact, in a real economic recovery?
I'm afraid that it does not, because once you look at the data, and you know, Trish, I'm one of those, I said, this is great. 288,000 more. That is what we're seeing the payroll rise, but then you start to look at the data and you still have wage stagnation. You still have weekly hours worked at 34.5, which is not good and healthy and not a good sign, not a good trend. And the other thing is looking at that labor force participation rate, and you saw it go back down, 62.7%. And that is of concern to me, that you've got nearly 800,000 people that are opting out of the labor force, that are no longer looking. And I thought that we would see that labor force participation rate improved, and I'm terribly disappointed that we did not.
Well, you know, you did hit the nail on the head in terms of those two issues really being the sticking point here. Wages, we just haven't seen any wage growth. That's right. And, you know, we are seeing a lot of people saying, okay, enough, and opting out of the labor force, which, of course, is not good to see. But let's talk about sort of the political implications of all this, because 6.3% is a good headline number. 288,000 does sound good. Will your average voter really be able to peel back the layers and look at things like wages or the number of people opting out? I mean, isn't there just sort of the impression of things being better given the headline numbers?
A couple of points there. Number one, people will hear the headline and they already don't trust the way this administration puts out facts and figures. And we hear this all the time. They will tell you, well, look at when you're talking about the cost of living. Of course it costs more to live. And they're paying more at the pump, they're paying more for groceries, so they don't believe these numbers when they hear them. So
well, people don't believe the numbers when they hear them. Let me ask you about that. I mean, do you believe the numbers when you hear them? I mean, what's behind that?
Well, I question that, but what people have realized is that this administration reconfigures how they report your employment rate, how they report the cost of living, and so now it's like they feel like they've kind of bought onto the... Well, if they're not going to consider fuel cost and food cost and some of those necessity items that go into that cost of living, so then they begin to doubt what they're hearing from this administration. Now, I will tell you this also. What people are seeing is more uncertainty from D.C., but from their state general assemblies and legislatures, they're getting more certainty. And I think the jobs growth that we are seeing is coming from some of the states who are lowering their taxation rates, and they're dealing with litigation in their borders, and especially looking at some of the class action lawsuits and frivolous lawsuits, you know, tort reform
been a big issue. You know, Representative Blackburn, we're almost out of time. So before I let you go, I understand you were up in my home state of New Hampshire recently.
I was.
That's interesting. One reason that a lot of people go to New Hampshire is for a little campaigning. There was talk that you may be putting your hat in the ring for a presidential bid. What do you say?
Oh, no. I'm not putting my hat in the ring for a presidential bid, but what I do is get out there and fight for the cause of freedom, and I love to being included in the Freedom Fest there in New Hampshire. Had a great time. A lot of great folks there.
Oh, that's so good to hear. I always do as well. Thank you so much. Marsha Blackburn, Vice Chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Okay.